Good evening, Mr. Arun Mohan.
Yes, sir.
Please start. Please start.
Good evening to all the dignified participants. I welcome you all to the 131st web training series of Bharat Sahodaya. Now I take it as a pleasure to introduce today's moderator, Ms. Shalini Shinoy, who is a holder of MA in English Literature, B.Ed, B.Lic, Diploma in Management of Learning Disability. Has adorned various posts in Crescent Public School, Chalakudi, starting as a librarian, head of English department, editor of school magazine, center superintendent for CBSE board of examination, deputy superintendent for NEET examination, and presently the vice principal from 2015 onwards. As resource person for COE, Trivandrum in library science has conducted 17 CBSE online training sessions. Has also moderated sessions for CBSE Bharat Sahodaya and has been a panelist in various educational sessions. Passionate about books and reading, she has contributed articles and reviews in e-magazines. So glad to have you with us, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Arun Mohan, for the kind words. Hello and welcome to all the participants for the 131st seminar of CBSE Bharat Sahodaya web training series. Classroom management is the process by which teachers and schools maintain appropriate behavior of students in classroom setting. Effective classroom management establishes and sustains an orderly environment, increases meaningful academic learning, and reduces negative behavior. Today, we have a seminar on classroom management with special emphasis on development of pro-social behavior. Pro-social behavior is the behavior through which people benefit others. Such behavior may improve academic outcomes. It is imperative to know that the teacher's social, emotional competency and well-being affects classroom management's plan they use and the relationship that they form with students. Today's session will be enriching, absorbing, as most educators find it difficult to manage and attract the attention of the students in offline mode and to conduct the teaching learning process effectively. So before we get started, let me welcome all the participants once again with the gentle reminder to keep a notepad and a pen ready to jot down points. You may post your queries in the chat box. We have a question and answer session at the end where all your queries will be addressed. Kindly stay connected till the end. All distinctive endeavors have a visionary who leads, takes tough decisions, and implements them. We have a luminary in educational scenario who makes it a point to catch up with the latest and is keen to spread his knowledge among the educators across India. An iconic leader in the field of education, he had the privilege to attend a 5-day workshop at New Delhi recently to be the master trainer of CBSE in collaboration with UNESCO. I extend a warm welcome to the Program Director, General Secretary of Bharat Sahodaya and CBSE Master Trainer, Dr. Abdul Salam Sir, and invite him to address the participants. Over to you, sir.
Good evening. Thank you, Shalini ma'am. Good evening, everybody. Respected resource person of today, Sukanya ma'am, Mr. Biju S. Pillai, Treasurer, Mr. Arun Mohan, and all the dignified participants. In fact, we have been, wanting to conduct several of this kind, but unfortunately, as everybody, we also were kept, busy with our offline schooling, which has a lot of settlement to be done. And now that students, teachers, and all have become settled, we thought it is time to resume our journey towards empowering the teaching fraternity of CBSE. And Bharat Sahodaya has conducted 130 sessions, as everybody knows. This is 131st one. And I'm very glad that Sukanya Patia Madam has agreed to conduct this particular session because this is very important classroom management. And before that, heartiest greetings on the occasion from Kerala, where Keralites are celebrating their, a kind of national festival called Onam. And take this opportunity to wish each and everyone a happy and prosperous Onam. Hope all, have been attending a lot of other webinars conducted by CBSE, COE directly, and Shalini ma'am is also giving a lot of sessions. This month also I have seen her chart. COE has sent me the chart wherein you have 2 sessions this month, I think. Yeah. And now I think we will go ahead with our sessions every Saturday. We will schedule, and we will hope to empower and enrich our educators in whichever way we can. And also we are planning an international conference in the month of December, wherein we all can meet together and we can have 2 days offline workshop. So many things are in pipeline. Let us take this opportunity to empower ourselves. And classroom management is very much essential as of now, because students, after coming from online to offline, they don't know how to sit and how to be in the receptive mode. In fact, teachers also were finding it difficult to make alignments in the classroom. When it comes to classroom management, there are so many techniques and so many things which if you go through will be helpful in managing the classroom. More important is the pro-social. That's why I thought we can begin with this particular topic when Sukanya Bhatia ma'am offered this topic, pro-social behavior. I always believe that this is very much important because we cannot bring in discipline by enforcing rules and regulations with the children. We cannot bring in discipline at gunpoint. It's a kind of mutual understanding. That is why a pro-social behavior to be nurtured and developed in children. And I believe that man being a social animal, he is dependent upon others for his development, personality development. In fact, we are dependent upon others in each and everything. If you take the food we eat, it is coming from somebody else. If you look at your dress you're wearing, it is done by others. So for each and everything we are depending upon others. So it is always better to inculcate, to nurture a kind of pro-social behavior wherein the child feels he is helping others, he has a mutual understanding, he is very cooperative, and so on. And more than that, the trust which we have to build in children, that gives them a kind of responsibility and accountability to be in a group, in a team, to to grow up in a team. So I take this opportunity to congratulate each and every educator who has joined for this wonderful session offered by Sukanya Bhatia ma'am. And at the same time, I wish all the best to Sukanya Bhatia ma'am. Thank you so much. Those who are watching on YouTube live, we'll be posting the certificate link, which we have already shared with everyone who has registered. Nearly 2,000 participants have registered you can, at the end of session, you can open the link and you can apply for the certificate, which we will be posting in YouTube as well. And at the end of this session on Zoom as well. Thank you so much. Over to Shalini.
Thank you so much, sir. We have yet another leader who has made an indelible mark in the educational scenario with his insight and experience. It's my privilege to invite Mr. Biju S. Pillai, sir, Treasurer, Bharat Sahodaya, to offer felicitations.
Good evening, all educators. Respected General Secretary Abdul Salam sir, Director Shalini ma'am, and today's resource person Sukanya ma'am, and welcome to all respected dignitaries present on this dais. As my brother told, I wish all Keralites and all other people a very happy Onam from our side, as it is a harvest festival. And I take this opportunity to congratulate all the educators back to the stage of Bharat Sahodaya once again, as we are coming back with the 131st webinar and a very good topic, classroom management. As all educators, whatever experience we are having, still listening to this particular topic is will definitely improve our knowledge to tackle this each and every situations which is coming in our day-to-day life. And I wish all participants a great success, and special welcome to today's resource person, Sukanya ma'am. Thank you. Bye. Back to Shalini ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. Today, we have an eminent resource person who has been in the field of education for last 20 years. She is an AIEF certified global master trainer and has completed MPhil in English with distinction. Her research work on mythical patterns and plays of Girish Karnad was highly appreciated. She has vast experience in conducting in-house and external webinars and is currently working in Jesus Sacred Heart College, Ludhiana, Punjab. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you the resource person for today, Ms. Sukanya Bhatia, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for the illustrious introduction. Good evening to all the educators. I feel elated to be a part of such a great platform, CBSE Bharat Sahodaya web training session. I feel blessed to be invited here and would like to extend my gratitude to worthy Dr. Abdul Salam, General Secretary of Bharat Sahodaya and CBSE Master Trainer. I feel honored to be invited on such a big platform as a resource person. The topic for the presentation is classroom management in developing the pro-social behavior. And before I begin, let me ask you all that have you ever engaged with any kind of behavior benefiting others? If yes, then it's great. Did you expect anything in return for that gesture? If yes, then it's good. And if no, then it's all right. Some will say yes, some will say no. So engaging in behavior like caring, sharing, helping, comforting, cooperating is not that simple. You put in lots of efforts and energy in order to get engaged in active behavior, which is called pro-social behavior. So today, in the session, the discussion will be on the following topics. What is pro-social behavior? Then we will be talking about social factors influencing pro-social behavior. PBS, positive behavior support, and then how to implement it in our classrooms. Before we get into the details of pro-social behavior, I would like to give you a brief of what altruism is and how it is different from pro-social behavior. People get confused in both these terms. Altruism, it means an unselfish concern for the benefit and welfare of others. In simple terms, altruism means performing an act voluntarily. Performing an act voluntarily to help someone when there is no expectation of reward in any form. Whereas pro-social behavior is any helpful action, you can say, regardless of helper's motive. And altruism is really, really very difficult to attain. So let us watch a small video to understand the concept of pro-social behavior. I hope it is audible.
Prosocial behavior. Prosocial behavior occurs when people act to benefit others rather than themselves. Altruism, cooperation, and caregiving are a few examples of prosocial behavior. Prosocial behavior is a central part of morality. As social psychologist Daniel Batson notes, much of interpersonal morality involves giving weight to the interests and desires of others in situations in which our interests and theirs conflict. Research reveals that those who act prosocially tend to be happier, to be healthier, and to live longer. Those who don't act prosocially tend to suffer the psychological cost that comes with guilt. Prosocial behavior is contagious. Studies show that people who see others act prosocially are more likely to do so themselves. People also seem to have an innate preference for prosocial behavior. For example, in one study, even babies preferred to play with a doll that they saw act in a helpful way over another doll that they saw act in a selfish way. Law professor Lynn Stout observes unselfish prosocial behavior is so omnipresent in American society that it often goes unnoticed. Indeed, consider how frequently people help each other, donate to charity, and volunteer. For example, in 2014, charitable giving reached an all-time high with more than $358 billion in donations. And overall, 45% of Americans volunteer, making the United States third in the world for offering time and talents to help others. So, while prosocial behavior may often go unnoticed, it can be argued that helping others is the cornerstone of a just and decent society.
So in this video, you all have seen that how, I think there is some technical glitches. Just give me 1 minute. Yes, now it is resolved. I hope you are able to see. My screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Yes, thank you. So now this is what we have seen, that people are really doing a charity work. They are donating the money and they are taking so much of interest in social works. So this is what is pro-social behavior. Here I would like to discuss one case study and want to talk about a story. This is actually in 1954. A group of 11 boys and all around 12 years old, they were invited on a special. They were invited to a special summer camp in the deep woods of Oklahoma, at a place you can call it as Robbers Cave State Park. None of the boys knew each other, although they all came from similar backgrounds. They spent their days bonding over things like games and swimmings and treasure hunts, and in no time, they formed a tightly friendly group. They even came up with a name for themselves, and they kept the name the Rattlers, as you can see on the screen. But soon they began to notice something. There was another group of boys, also 11 of them, also of a same age group, that had been staying at the other end of the park at the same time. So there were two groups. One group was the Rattler and another group of boys, it was the Eagles. The Rattlers never interacted with these other boys, and they were knowing each other. They were not knowing each other, and another group had a name with the word the Eagles. Both the groups, they didn't like each other, and the feeling was mutual. It didn't take long for each group to start complaining to the camp's counselors about the other gang. They keep on telling each other about one or the other thing. So they were bringing the complaints. And eventually, they both said that they wanted to set up a contest to determine once and for all that which group was better. The counselors were only happy to comply, obviously, because as they were sure that they have figured out by now that those counselors were actually researchers. Those counselors were researchers. The man who set up what would be remembered to as Robert's Cave experiment. So this is Robert Cave's experiment. It was a Turkish American social psychologist, Muzaffar Sharif. He conducted this, and then Sharif wanted to test something that is called realistic conflict theory. He wanted to come to this point. He hypothesized that conflict happens when you combine negative prejudices with competition over resources. Over the next couple of days, the Ratters and the Eagles, they competed against each other. Over this, then, for certain prizes in the series of games, like a tug of war, like foot races, and so on. What started as basic trash talking, then taunting, and then name calling morphed into fist fights, thefts, and whatnot. But then their dynamics changed. After this game got sober, researchers disintegrated their groups. They disintegrated it and gave them shared goals. Kindly note, shared goals that they could only achieve through cooperation. So very smartly, they put both the groups into one task. The tide quickly turned. All 22 boys, they worked together to move a stalled truck carrying their food. They collaborated in setting up the tents, even though they were not given complete set of equipments, but they were put in certain situations. While isolation and competition made enemies of a stranger, shared goals and cooperation turned enemies into friends. This is what we all have to do in the classrooms. This is what we are witnessing in our classrooms as well, irrespective of age groups, isn't it? Yes. Children in the classrooms, they are aggressive. They are particularly post-lockdown. So let us look up for a few opposing forces. So through collaboration and shared goals, the task was achieved. On the screen, as you can see, that they are they are opposite forces. So one is aggression and altruism. Then we will be having a conflict and cooperation. So earlier, when they were in isolated groups, there was a conflict going on. There was aggression. But when they were put into a task, when they were given a collaborated work, it turned into a cooperation, which we can simply say that psychology of war and peace. What we all can learn as educators from a bench of 12-year-olds. Aggression is behavior intended to hurt or destroy someone, something, even yourself. So people aggress verbally, they aggress emotionally, physically, and for lots of reasons. There are lot of reasons for aggression. It can be out of anger, it can be to assert the dominance, and so on, which we all witness in our classrooms. So why people help each other when they are put into a group? One is reciprocity principle. This reciprocity principle is one of the basic laws of social psychology. It says that in many social situations, we pay back what we received from others. In other words, if someone does you a favor, you are likely to return it to him, isn't it? If somebody does any favor to you, you will be doing the same. So this is a reciprocity principle. So we are helping each other because of this basic factor. If somebody is helping me out, I will help them out. Then social responsibility. It acts as an important influence on individual helping behaviors. It is activated by situational and individual factors, and the level of activation determines the level of pro-social behavior. Then there are some personal factors that influence pro-social behavior. So they are actually empathy. Have you ever thought why people help each other again? This is another factor, that is empathy. There are several motives. There are several factors that play an important role in pro-social behavior. The first one is empathy. So let us talk about that. It is a capacity to be able to experience others' emotional states, feel sympathetic towards them, and take their perspectives. We help others because we experience any unpleasant feelings they are experiencing and want to help bring their negative feelings an end. Some pro-social acts are motivated solely by the desire to help someone in need. So that is empathy. There is a desire in us to help others. Such motivation is required in our classrooms. Such motivation can be sufficiently strong that the helpers is willing to engage in unpleasant, dangerous, and even life-threatening activities. Then there is another factor, that is mood, as you can see on the screen. Changing moods. We all witness this in the classrooms. Sometimes students are very happy, and sometimes there is a swing mood. So helping others also depends upon their mood, attitude, and so on. But after the lockdown, we all as educators might have experienced that empathy has declined in students, isn't it? And if so, why? There are various reasons for that. Reasons of challenging behavior in the classrooms. So they are witnessing this. There can be one major reason, and there is actually basically a one major reason, is exposure to violence. During lockdown periods, they are more they are actually generations, internet generations sitting in our classrooms. They are exposed to all sort of social medias. They're exposed to violence. So increasing exposure to violence in the media may tend to reduce important aspects of empathy. Increased emphasis in schools and other settings on building individual self-esteem may reduce the tendency to focus on others and their needs. So that is also an important factor. They are busy making their individual self-esteem. Another important factor, is social media. It reduces face-to-face contacts between the people who form friends and relationships online rather in person. They have a very good social circle, but not in person. This in turn can reduce empathetic feeling towards others. Now, a great challenge to all the educators, how to handle such kind of situations. Now that they are I generations, now that they are aggressive, and after the lockdown, they are exposed to social media, they are exposed to violence, they are exposed to so many other things. Now it is our duty to bring them back to the norm. Now, how to handle such kind of situations? Challenging behavior in the classroom is disruptive and difficult for both teachers and students. I hope all the educators over here agree with me. Positive behavior support not only reduces stress in the classroom, but also equips students with life skills beyond the curriculum. Research has shown that positive behavior support, PBS, is highly effective in preventing and addressing challenging behaviors in the classrooms. So what is required is to make a positive atmosphere in our classrooms. These positive practices impact general school culture and result in improved academic outcomes for all the students. As students embrace more pro-social behavior, PBS also supports families and impacts on our society as a whole. So what is positive behavior support? PBS. PBS is grounded in the philosophical and scientific foundations of behavior analysis, but also draw on shared and values and methods of prevention science, implementation science, and more recently, positive psychology. It is underpinned by the philosophy that human beings thrive in predictable spaces where expectations are clear. New skills are taught and positive behaviors are richly and reinforced. PBS rests on the principles of progressive levels of individualization to prevent and address challenging behavior. Now, on the screen, I'm going to show you this Maslow's motivation model. And I'll be explaining you what is it all about. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a theory of motivation which states that 5 categories of human needs dictate an individual's behavior. If you are motivating your students, you will see that there is a positive attitude in them. Those needs are physiological needs, safety needs, love and belonging needs, esteemed needs, self-actualization needs. These are all needs, but they are placed in a hierarchy based. Maslow's theory presents his hierarchy of needs in a pyramid shape, as you can see on the screen, with basic needs at the bottom. Basic needs at the bottom of pyramid and more higher level, intangible needs at the top. A person can only move on to addressing the higher level needs when their basic needs are adequately fulfilled. So they will move on to from bottom to top when their basic needs are fulfilled. Physiological needs. The first of the it-driven lower need of Maslow's hierarchy are physiological needs. These most basic human survival needs. It includes food and water, sufficient rest, clothing, shelter, then overall health. Maslow states that these basic physiological needs must be addressed before humans move on to the next level of fulfillment. Then second one is safety needs. Next among the lower needs is safety. Safety needs include protection from violence and theft, emotional stability, well-being, health security, and financial security. Right. Then we will move on to the next hierarchical level, love and belonging needs. what we feel among students is that they are lacking in love. The social needs on the third level of Maslow's hierarchy related to human interaction and are the last of the so-called lower needs. Among these needs are friendships and family bonds, both with biological family, that is parents, sibling, and children, and chosen family, the spouses, their partners. So physical and emotional intimacy, ranging from intimate emotional bonds, they are very important to achieving a feeling of elevated kinship. Then comes esteemed needs. The higher needs, beginning with esteem, are ego-driven needs. So the primary elements of esteem are self-respect and self-esteem for personal growth and accomplishment. Maslow specifically notes that self-esteem can be broken into two particular types: esteem with the base of respect and acknowledgement from others, and esteem is based on our own self-assessment. So we can see in our classrooms that students are losing their self-esteem. So this is a particular area where they are mostly affected. At the end, self-actualization describes the fulfillment of your full potential as a person, sometimes called self-fulfillment needs. As you can see on the diagram, self-actualization needs occupy the highest spot on Maslow's pyramid. Such kind of self-actualization needs includes education, it includes skills, it includes creative activities, designing, cooking, gardening, caring for others, broader goals like learning a new language, traveling to new places, and winning awards. Now that we have started this Maslow motivation model, we can easily now, and we have understood rather, that our students are actually suffering not from physiological needs or safety needs. They are particularly struggling for next, third, and fourth level, that is esteem needs and belongingness of love. Now, how to implement positive behavior in your classroom, studying that model. Let us understand the cyclic process that is there on the slide. 5 steps of implementing PBS, positive behavior. One is expectations. Setting clear expectations eliminate doubts and set targets. So you need to be very clear, set clear expectations to the students in the classroom. Then the second point is modeling. Educators, they should model, positive behavior in the classroom, illustrating what the behavior looks like and feels like. It is not just for students, it is for teachers as well in the classroom. You need to be a role model. Third point is consistency. Maintain the consistency so that students know what to expect from with follow through. So we have to be very consistent in our behavior as well. Fourth one is acknowledgement. Positively acknowledge attempts that students make towards their target behavior. And then in the fifth one, that is evaluation. Evaluate the merit of each strategy regularly to ensure that it is working the way it should be. So the strategies described here will assist you. It will help you in creating a positive learning environment that proactively teaches and richly reinforces pro-social behaviors. Setting clear expectations, that is the most important factor. Let us talk about this. Students might present with challenging behaviors in the classrooms, right? Because the expected classroom behaviors have not been stated, they have not been taught. Students can be confused about what is expected of them. And this may be even more true for students with disabilities. So we should, first of all, be very clear in our terms and set the clear expectations for the students. Clear visual cues through postures, right? Through pictures. Utilizing inclusive language helps students understand what behaviors are expected of them in the classroom. Display the chart in the classroom and tell them what is expected. It should be displayed in front of them. Teachers can direct students to these expectations frequently, consistently, apply them, acknowledge students who are presented with behaviors which align with these expectations. Teachers can also identify those students who may need more support to learn how to display the expected behaviors in the classrooms. Teachers who have established expectations actually reduce stress in the classroom, as students are aware of what they are required to do, right? Schools should invest time in teaching expectations early and often during the school terms. It should be clear in their terms that what is expected. More time invested in teaching expectations, it can dramatically reduce incident of challenging behaviors in the school. So setting clear guidelines and expectations and modeling these behaviors during planning session only, and not only encourages those behaviors but reinforces their practice over time. Let us talk in depth about the behavior specific praise. We need to praise the students. Praise is a powerful tool in the teacher's arsenal. It is free and the supply is unlimited. Behavior specific praise works in two ways. Behavior specific praise is going to work wonders. Firstly, it acknowledges and reinforces the positive student behavior. Then, secondly, it contributes to the positive classroom, where students strive to do better both socially and academically. Behavior specific praise includes a pointed reference to the desired behavior. It is specific to the individual, behavior specific praise, right? And then it is positively phrased. For example, a teacher who affirms a student's ability to participate in wait time can offer some affirmative comments. Well done, Asha, for waiting to contribute to the discussion. So teachers should actively look for behavior and they can praise. For students they are concerned about, praise for desired behavior should be provided more frequently to them. By moving away from using reprimands and attending to the student only when unwanted behavior occurs, to focusing on the positive about student, teacher substantiability, increase the chances of appropriate behavior in the classrooms. So absolutely it is in our hand. Teachers can follow 4:1 ratio when praising, when they are intentionally offer 4 statements to affirm positives and then offer 1 corrective element. This not only enforces appropriate student behavior, but also validates the positive climate the teacher is creating within their learning space. Most teachers, they have developed a set of teaching strategies to assist students who experience challenges with their learning. Often, this set of strategies assist the entire class, believe me, not just a student who is experiencing the challenge. These strategies may be learning area specific, but teachers can intuitively draw on more generalist techniques to assist all the students. For example, a very simple example I can cite over here, identifying a set of questions which are clearly stated to the class and offering appropriate wait times. So students have opportunity to respond, cater for both strong learners and those who struggle. Teachers are actually the ring masters in their classrooms, isn't it? So they control when questions are asked and who will answer them. So it is in their hand. Then another example to create positive learning environment is the third point, catch students being good. A positive centered, PBS centered school, we can say, or a classroom provides multiple opportunities for students to receive positive acknowledgement for appropriate behaviors. So all school staffs can play a role in catching the student doing the right thing and formally acknowledge it. The problem with us is that we don't acknowledge. We only catch, but we don't acknowledge. For example, the staff member can issue a handwritten note for stamp that the student can lodge with the classroom teacher or someone allocated in the classroom for this role. The student who receives such kind of positive acknowledgement from the school could be acknowledged by the classroom teachers or by the school in the school assembly. Really, it works. In my class, if somebody comes up neatly dressed up for a month without any defaulter, and then there is a complete cleanliness in the class, we praise them, we applaud them, we acknowledge them in the assemblies, and it really works wonder. They get so motivated that they want to attain the same level. So we can, the students' family should also be informed about the positive contributions by the students, as this allows the formation of positive home-school partnerships. So catch students being good and acknowledge them as well. Dear educators, another one, stump your partner. What is it? How can we create positive learning environment by stumping your partner? Yes, let me tell you. Students take a minute to create a challenging questions based on the lecture content. To that point, right? So we have to indulge students in collaboration. We should find out the weak areas and the strong areas and put them in a group to work. So all those negativities will run away, right? So students pose a question to the person sitting next to them, suppose. So to take this activity a step further, ask students to write down their questions and hand them in. Ask them to write this question. These questions can be used to create tests and exams. They can also be reviewed to gauge student understanding. So stump your partner is a very beautiful activity to create a positive sort of environment in the classrooms. You are much familiar with this think, parent, share. In the CBSE curriculum as well, and in the latest books as well, we can see this think, parent, share, and we are generally practicing in our classrooms as well. In think, pair, share, or we can give it another name as write, parent, share, the instructor poses a question that demands analysis, that demands evaluation, synthesis, etc. Students take few minutes to think through an appropriate response. Students turn to a partner, let it be in a small group, and share their responses. Take this a step further by asking students to find someone who arrives at an answer different from their own. So you have asked them to, you have paired them, you have asked them to think over it and convince their partner to change their mind. So that convincing power is also developed. In this way, student responses are shared within larger teams and with the entire class during follow-up sessions. And believe me, trust me, this think, pair, share works wonder in the classroom. So we have to collaborate our lesson plans with teaching methodologies so that, there should be no isolation. Because we have just seen in that case study that if they are isolated in two different groups, there will be negativity. So we have to put them in a collaboration group. Then catch up. Stop at transition point in your lecture. You are delivering a lecture in the class, stop over there at a transition point. Have students turn to a partner or work in small groups to compare their notes. Tell them to compare their notes, ask clarifying questions. It can be done in mathematics, in English, in sciences. After a few minutes, open the floor to a few questions. This is a very beautiful activity which can be taken into consideration in all the subjects. This works wonder in the behavior management, the classroom. Then fishbowl debate. The name itself suggests that there is going to be a debate, but there is a twist. Ask students to sit in groups of 3. Ask students to sit in a group of 3. Assign them the roles. For example, a person on left takes one position on a topic for debate. The person on right takes the opposite position, and the person in the middle takes notes and decides which side is the most convincing one and provides an argument for his or her choice. Debrief by calling on a few groups to summarize their discussions, right? So in this way, debate is also carried in the class and they are sharing their viewpoints as well. So in this way, they are adding up more of a content into their writing part. They are adding up more of a information and vocabulary. So this is a beautiful activity to create the positive environment in the classroom. Then case study. Case study as an activity can be taken into consideration in the classes. Create 4 to 5 case studies of similar difficulty, right? Have students work in groups of 4 or 5 as per your class to work through and analyze their case study. Provide 10 minutes to 15 minutes or whatever adequate time you want to work through the cases. Walk around and address any question. Call on groups randomly and ask that students share their analysis. Continue until each case study has been addressed. So you are giving chance to speak to all the students in a group. And the weaker one who is, nature lover will also participate and will learn it sitting in a group rather than in an isolation. Team-based learning, this is also a very beautiful activity just to create positive environment in the class. So when we will create a positive environment in the class, when there will be a pro-social behavior in the class, students will learn more and will enjoy it. And there will be less of negativity, no clashes, no aggressions, and nothing of that sort, right? So team-based learning, as the name suggests, start a course unit by giving students some tasks to complete, such as reading and lab assignments. Consider assigning these to be completed before the class. Check the students' comprehension of the material with a quick multiple choice quiz. You can conduct a quiz. Have students submit their answers. Assign students to groups and have them review their answers with group members to each consensus. Having each group submit one answer quiz. Record both the individual student assessment scores and then final group assessment score. Deliver a lecture that specially targets and misconceptions or gap in knowledge. So at the end, you take a lead and tell them where the gap was. Give groups a challenging assignment, such as solving a problem or applying a theory to a real world situation. So always connect them with real world situation. In this way, you are involving whole of a class into a task and not letting anybody sit idle or thinking or creating indiscipline in the class. We have group problem solving as well. There are many instructional strategies that involve students working together to solve a problem, including inquiry-based learning, authentic learning, discovery learning. While they each have their own unique characteristics, they fundamentally involve presenting students with a problem, providing some structures or guidance towards solving the problem. Note, however, that they are all student-centric activities in which the instructor may have a very minimal role, reaching the final outcome or solution. So these are the examples of how to create a positive environment in the classrooms. Let us watch one more video wherein one school is sharing their classroom routines and let us learn something out of it.
At our school, an observer may see students working independently, performing classroom jobs, or using objects appropriately, and think, wow, isn't she lucky? All these kids are really well behaved. But actually, their ability to do all that is rooted in a ton of structure and routine that we front load. And our first weeks of school are all about establishing those routines. First, think about where you might need a routine. Anything from managing noise level to how students line up, to how they rotate around the room. Do you want students to ask for permission to get out of their seat? Do you want them just to call out? What tools or supplies need explanation for use? Next, map out 2 weeks for establishing the routines. Choose one to focus on each day. Demonstrate and then make sure that you provide authentic opportunities for practice. Set expectations with each routine. What do you want to see? Build extra time into your schedule for demonstration and practice. Investing now will pay off later. Over time, assess how your routines are going and take notes for next year. Is there an activity that requires more routine or expectation setting? Is there a place where you might be able to pull back and have less structure? A balance is key so the classroom is both fun and high functioning.
Yes, we need to maintain a routine in our classrooms. Then only they are going to work. I think I am not able to share the screen, or I am visible.
What happened, ma'am?
Sir, screen is visible?
No, ma'am.
I mean, it is window.
Yes, is it visible?
No.
Screen is
Restart.
not visible.
All right. Let me check. I think there are certain glitches. Is it visible right now?
It's coming. Yes.
Thank you so much. Yes. So through this video, we came to know that in the classrooms, they have indulged that it's in a working mode, right? So behavior management strategies are to be adopted to engage each and every student into a work. Maintain a routine. This is what video says. Having a set routine is very important. It's an important behavior tool that helps to establish the guidelines and behavior expectations. A routine ensures that students know what is coming next. So you are spend less time giving out instructions, freeing up time to do the real work. Include the students in establishing a class schedule that works for everyone and give them responsibility for some routine tasks. For example, distributing the notebook and then taking a charge of, getting the work done, writing the homework on the board or something. So don't leave out the notorious disruptive students in your schedule more often. A sense of responsibility can help reduce behavior issues in the classroom. When a student starts to slide out of your planned routine, use non-verbal cues like hand gestures to remind students of what they should do. So avoid verbal cues to keep the lesson flow uninterrupted. Coming up next is set rules together with students. Why you are only setting the rules? Let involve students to set the rules with you. If the classroom teachers set the rules themselves, the class may reject it. Isn't it? Sometimes we frame the rule and they reject it. They said, we are not going to observe this, follow this. So that's why it is important to have an audience with you, to have your students with you, to help set the rules. When children take ownership to the rules, peer pressure works in your favor to enforce them and improve behavior management. This is the best technique. This peer pressure works in your favor. Yes. Also have a guideline for how infrastructures will dealt with. These guidelines help remove the feeling of being punished. So students will know what to expect when they are not called out about their behavior. Remember to enforce the guidelines impartially and consistently. If you slack in your enforcement even once, you create a loophole that everyone will want to take advantage of. It is also important to remember not to discipline the whole class for one student's infractions. For example, disrupting class proceedings to deal with one student. If you're dealing only with one student, in that time, rest of the class will get distracted. So this will likely alienate the whole class. Suppose one student is disturbing in the class and you are punishing whole of a class. This will feel wrongly punished. Students will have a negative feeling. So don't develop that. Don't let that go. Then create stimulating lessons. Imagine sitting through a meeting where the facilitator drones on for hours on end. You will probably start fiddling with your keys, isn't it? Or just zone out right in the middle of it. That's exactly how students feel when lessons are not excited. Monotonous classes are sure to bring out the worst in your students. Underline this. Monotonous classes are sure to bring out the worst in the students. To get rid of bad behavior, make your class activities as exciting, as stimulating as possible. Structure your activities to engage and involve your learners throughout the lesson. If you're involving your learners throughout, then you will see that the class is managed. Strive to allow your students to uncover knowledge with their practical activities. Most importantly, vary your teaching methodologies. Use plenty of aids and make the work as interactive and fun as you can in your classrooms. You can draw the attention of the younger students by incorporating games and using plenty of actions in your learning time. With older students, try to stay little reliable because by referring modern music and movies and so on. So in this way, we can manage the behavior management strategies will help us to develop a positive pro environment in our classroom. Then use positive language, a very important factor. We need to use a very positive language in it. Negative languages has a way of reinforcing the wrong behavior. Typically, kids like to do what they are told not to do, isn't it? If you say don't do this, they will definitely do that. So rather than creating a vicious circle of behavior challenges, use positive language. For example, instead of saying stop throwing those paper aeroplanes, you can say, can we all focus and pay attention, please? Positive language makes the student feel respected, leading to better behavior. Plus, another thing, positive language will encourage the kids to start speaking positively. For example, instead of saying this work is too hard for me, they will begin to say that I can try my level best. So start building up this sort of a language, use positive language in the class. It's also important to keep your body language positive, not only verbally, but bodily also. You have to keep your body language very positive. Smile more and frown less often. Model the behavior you want to see in your students. Studies have shown that students learn from the language and behavior that educators display. They do it. So we have to be a role model in the class. We should have a proper check on ourselves, our body language and our speaking part. Some of the outcomes of positive language approaches include a safe learning environment and a sense of responsibility. This is what we want to build up in our classes. It can be created if we have a sense of responsibility along with self-discipline and self-motivation. The most important factor is develop a relationship with your students. You are a good educator, you are intelligent enough, your methodology is too good, but if you are not developing a relationship with the students, you dash to the ground. Your all hard work dash to the ground. Get to know your students individually. Take time to find out their interests and dislikes. If your lessons are centered around what the learners like, you will find it easier to keep them engaged. You should know your student, that particular child is good in artwork, that particular child has a bend of interest in music. Also knowing your students will help you identify some triggers to behavior problems. For example, if a student suddenly starts lashing out and talking over you in a lesson, they may be going through some personal problems at home or facing issues like bullying at school. If you know a bit about the child, you may be able to figure out the root cause of the problem. Instead of punishing the bad behavior, you can talk to the student and point them in the direction of help. For example, get them to see the school counselor. One way of developing a good relationship with your class is by speaking positively about them to their parents and administrators. Use notes and calls to update their parents on their positive behavioral changes. And what we people do is generally, we are only complaining and complaining and complaining. Have the principal or a senior administrator drop in to comment their good behavior. Your students are more likely to feel like you are looking out for them and continue. They will continue to improve. But if you're only talking negative, they will show you the defined nature. Adjust your scoring methods. Beautiful methodology. If child is not able to do something, we give them fail, F. Getting an F on an assignment is demoralizing. If you are taking some test, you have checked it, give certain positive remark if in case child has scored less. Such like, for example, you can write, work hard, improve. Try to improve the spellings. Your weak areas are your spellings, grammar. So typically students who get poor marks are disruptive in class and deliberately fall short of behavior expectations to deflect from the real issue. If you're dealing with a similar scenario in your class, use a less standard scoring methods for grading classroom. For example, instead of grading a paper with a specific score, simply put check marks that they got it right and point out areas of improvement. This unconventional grading can help reduce the overwhelming feeling of poor grades. Never use F for just saying that they are not able to do it. You may also turn into a game. Use points to grade papers and give some rewards when a student reaches a specific number of points. What we as an educator do is, we just look in that you are not able to get 10 on 10. Rather, check it their previous score. Maybe on that particular day, they are getting 2, this time 5. So there is an improvement. Compare their marks rather than compare with others. Right? Treating scores like a fun game, it helps motivate students and focus and improve their scores. So establish a discipline plan. First rule, you can state your expectations as rules. In previous also, I just took up this point that we need to state our expectations very clearly in the class. The second rule, rules immediately create a work-oriented atmosphere. So rules are to be implemented and then include consequences that if you are not able to do this, you have to face this kind of things. So what the student choose to accept if a rule is broken. So let students only choose that if they are not able to do this, this will be going to be the punishment. Then establishing these routines with the parents as well. Like, for example, parents also need to follow procedures for the school and your class. On PTM days, you can communicate the classroom and social proceedings to the parents the first week of school and expect parents to follow them. In this way, you are engaging the parents as well. Teamwork, implementing classroom management. The most important thing is teamwork, collaboration. This is what I am talking over here, because this is only going to work. You need to communicate, take some time to discuss with your colleagues when you are in the faculty room that you have done, that worked, and things that didn't work. Discuss, communicate. What are the areas in the students which are the strongest, which are the weakest? We only look towards the negative aspect of the student. Talk about some good points as well. Identification. What do you need to improve the areas you thought were weak? And in this way, it is going to create a very positive environment in the classroom. This is one of the case study which I have just taken. This is inspiring pro-social behavior in the classroom through collaborative learning. This is a case study. Again, collaborative learning. Everybody, all sort of research works is working on this collaborative learning theory only. So this the mission of this study, of this case study, was to analyze whether the collaborative learning environment in the classroom inspires pro-social behaviors in the students. So pro-social behaviors are intended to help other people, characterized by the concern about their rights, feelings, welfares, and others. Collaboration is the most important factor that address issues when they come up. Whenever students approach you, you have to address their issues. Listen to them. Be a good listener and try to sort out. Otherwise, next time they will never turn up. Strategy on the shared goals. You have given a task, it's a shared goals. Design a strategy on it, and they will definitely work. Always love the students and praise their efforts. You need to love your students. Praise is one of the simplest and the most powerful tool to engage and motivate your students. When used effectively, praise can turn around behavior challenges and improve students' attitude. Students who learn and think differently often receive negative feedback as a result of their struggles. So always love the students, praise their efforts whenever required. Encouraging random acts of kindness. Tell your students to give an unexpected compliment to someone. Teach them to plant a tree. Teach them to donate something. Can be stationery. Tell them to slow down so that someone can merge in front of them in traffic. You can celebrate the kindness week. Hold the door open for your teacher. Just tell them to show the gratitude. Help someone who is stuck in their classroom. So this is how we have to encourage the random acts of kindness among students. Building empathy through happiness boards. This is a beautiful activity, building empathy, because this is only missing among students. So we have to build up the empathy through happiness boards. What is it all about? The pro-social behavior of empathy is important for creating understanding in students. Having students share their vulnerability and dreams in a way, just develop a happiness board in the classroom. Happiness boards are a useful tool for helping students develop empathy. Ask your students to make a list of memories, their happy moments in which they were proud of themselves, right? And then put up there on the wall. Build up a happiness board. Strategy, practice gratitude in the classroom. This is something which is very important. You need to tell them to practice the gratitude in the classroom. Gratitude enhances the mood of a sender and the receiver both. So also, according to the study, feeling gratitude over time increases the overall mood of a person. In a classroom, foster gratitude by setting aside time for students to journal weekly or daily about something they are grateful for. Ask them to write they are grateful for what. Consider having them use this notebook, and this practicing gratitude in the classroom works wonder. So the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And with this, I would like to just thank everyone for listening me patiently. Let us have a question session.
Thank you so much, Sukanya ma'am, for an informative session. There are several positive remarks in the chat box, like the concept of the shared goals and cooperation. I've written it down myself. Examples to create positive learning environment, like the fishbowl debate, unconventional grading system. That's wonderful. Then the discipline plan, routine for parents, kindness week, happiness board. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really informative. And we now move to the question and answer session. I'll just see whether there are questions in the chat box. I got one. There was one question put forward by a person. Could you give another example for stumping your partner?
Stumping your partner. Yes.
Yeah.
So another example for stumping your partner. For example, like you have a particular task given in the class, right? Suppose students, they take a minute to create the challenging questions. So in this way, when you are lecturing, you students can pose a question to a person. You just give them a chance, make them sit in a circle, make them sit in a group, ask them, like, you take this activity step further by asking that, then if I'm asking you the question, what could be the next question? So students ask to write down their questions and then hand it over to them. In this way, they are stumping into it. They are stumping your partner. Rather, I am asking their question, the child can ask the question to the next one. So they can also have a review to gauge their understanding, whether they are able to understand the concept or not. So in this way, we can take this activity in the class.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, if anyone from the audience has any question, they may raise their hand.
I think it was self-explanatory.
True.
But still, if you want to ask any question, you can raise your hands. So we'll unmute you. Someone wants the discipline rules once again.
Yeah.
Discipline plan.
Yes, discipline plan.
This is purely in our hand. It depends upon our class, like what sort of discipline area they lack in. Suppose if I talk about my class, like I will plan the discipline chart and I will paste it in the class, wherein I'll tell them these particular set rules that these are to be followed. And I'm not going to instruct them on the daily basis, right? So they are to be trained in that way that they should know that what is to be done, what is expected. Again, the clear expectations. Once you are clearly expecting or what your class has to do, there will be proper management in the class. The class will not be chaotic, not at all. So depending upon the situations, you have to frame the rules.
There's one more question, ma'am. How to handle different types of learners?
Yeah. First thing is, the basic thing is that first of all, we have to identify different learners. They are nature learners or they are music learners or what sort of, because they are sitting in a class, there's a mixed bag. Though all type of students are sitting in a class. Only as an educator, as a teacher, as a role model, we have to first of all identify that my child is not is an introvert, is not an extrovert, is not going to answer much. So give them a task to write something. They are actually learning, but they are not going to give you a response according to your expectations. You have to get the work done according to their learning abilities. So in this way, we can take. So for example, if I am taking a class and I have given them to a topic for debate, some are good speakers, they will overpower others and they won't let others speak. As an educator, as a teacher, I know that where the strength of the student lies. They are good into this task and not that. So I can frame a group wherein one can be an introvert, one can be an extrovert, one can be a good writer, one can be a playback music lover, and so on. So I can execute the activity and output will be fantastic.
Informative, ma'am. Let's wait and see if there are any more questions.
Yes.
These 2 points, let me add a bit regarding a discipline plan. It is always better to involve students also in framing discipline rules. It gives a kind of democratic approach, and students' involvement can be ensured. You can ask, what are the things we have to observe in the class. You can brainstorm students, and you can keep them also involved in the process. So it becomes, the students become the owners of the discipline rules in the classroom. And also, Madam was talking about different kinds of learners. We usually conduct a test at the beginning of the academic year. It is called WARC, everybody knows. You can go for it. Visual learners or, aesthetic learners, that means auditory learners, or who grasps easily from reading, or kinesthetic learners, one who learns by doing. This work test may be conducted and it is available freely online as well. In the internet, it is available. So this can be done in the beginning, like setting up classroom rules in consultation with the students, and teacher assessing the students on their different level abilities, like multiple intelligence also can be added to it. So I think Shalini ma'am, we can go for a wind up.
Yes, sir. Additionally, that unconventional grading system that ma'am suggested is really good. If you can say probably one or two more examples, like if you can just elaborate on that, it would be nice, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Sure. This is what I want is that we should not use the word F, failure. This is not acceptable. And then we cannot judge the student on the basis of only marks. Maybe on that day he might not have performed well due to certain reason. So we should have some good positive remarks, enhancing remarks, that they are meeting the progress. They are showing good results, improvement. Certain type of remarks other than this should be incorporated for us, so that we should always be encouraging them and not demotivating them. Once a child is demotivated, will never show up a good result next time. They'll start hating you. They will not love your subject, and you are totally dejected. So this is the best methodology to avoid F, and give them A, B, something. You build up something like, so E, excellent, meeting the needs, working hard, lot of improvements. These kind of remarks going to work more. So we should not be that negative.
Ma'am, there's one more question there. Ways to control aggressive child at a particular moment. What are your takes?
According to me, students become aggressive, or they are aggressive due to certain reasons. We need to find out the root cause, because this is an attitude which is adopted. It is not within. So child has become aggressive, maybe because of lack of attention at home. Maybe that child is facing some peer pressure in the classroom, or maybe the child is facing some another problem, adolescent problem, or any sort of. So the best way to handle them, not in the classroom, but take them separately and counsel them. Ask them what is the problem, what is there going on at the back end of their mind, what is troubling them, and you will definitely going to sort out this problem. Because in the classroom you cannot identify, and you should not as well, because the child may be hiding the truth from you in the classroom. So better counsel, have a word, take them separately, and ask them that you are the well-wishers. You have to build in the trust in the child that you are going to help the child out. So in this way, they will definitely share, and as a class in charge or anything, they will definitely come to you for any sort of help.
And there is one particular remark there, like be specific in your remarks than giving general remarks to the students.
Yes.
Good one there. So thank you so much, ma'am. There are several takeaways from this session, as we told, and we're sure our educators have got answers to most of their queries now. So can we move ahead with the vote of thanks?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Let me conclude today's program by expressing my deep sense of gratitude to everyone present. I begin by expressing words of gratitude to our brilliant resource person, Ms. Sukanya Bhatia, ma'am, for this outstanding session. Thank you so much, ma'am. Words of appreciation.
Thank you.
Words of appreciation to our wonderful leader, Dr. Abdul Salam, sir, for organizing such remarkable webinars. Thank you so much, sir. And Mr. Biju S. Pillai, sir, for his presence and, constant support to all the activities of Bharat Sahodaya. Thank you so much, sir. Deep sense of appreciation to the wonderful IT and technical head, Mr. Arun Mohan and Mr. Arafat. Thank you so much, both of you. And I would like to thank all the participants for their contributions in making this webinar a huge success. I conclude by wishing all of you happy Onam and Teachers' Day in advance. Thank you all once again, and I request Salam Sir to wind up the session.
Thank you, Shalini ma'am, for the graceful work you have done, moderating the session. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And ma'am, I don't know how to, thank you. You were so unwell, just a few days, 2 days back. And we were uncertain whether this session would take place or not. But by God's grace, you have made it. And that too wonderfully. I could see, you have dealt the session in depth. There is, in-depth research you have done, and most of the areas you have covered. Classroom management is a vast area, but as much as possible, within 1 hour, you have covered most of the things. But still, there are many things we have to take care of, and all the points you have presented here are, worth following for a effective classroom management. Especially, many of us do not tell the children what are our expectations, so they don't know. As you said, they are confused how to behave, what is to be done, what is not to be done. So it is very essential in the beginning, we have to tell them. And all the way, the same is, appreciating, recognizing their positive behavior. And avoid negative, all the sort of connotations, negative terms and all. We have to deal students, in such a way that positivism is inculcated in children. So this was, what do you call, all the more an eye opener for many of us, with lots of, points to take away, as Shalini may have rightly pointed out. And we look forward to associating with the Suganya Bhatia ma'am. Thank you so much for your time and your efforts, and definitely your effort is going to help the teaching community a lot, who are very passionate and dedicated to follow these valuable points to make their classroom management very effective and very significant. So thank you so much, Bhatia ma'am and Shalini ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
All the educators. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Okay, so shall we wind up? Mr. Arafat, please wind up.